Entering the dungeon is easy, but will you get out of it alive? Four Against Darkness is a solitaire dungeon delving game that may also be played cooperatively. No miniatures are needed. All you need is this book, a pencil, 2 dice, and grid paper. Choose 4 characters from a list of classic type: warrior, wizard, rogue, halfling, dwarf, barbarian, cleric, elf. Equip them and venture into dungeons created by dice rolls and your own choices. You will fight monsters, manage resources, grab treasure, dodge traps, find clues, and even accept quests from the monsters themselves. Your characters will level up, becoming more powerful with each game, if they survive. So yes, this book is Four Against Darkness, and it is a game that was brought to my attention by YouTube censorship account. So yes, thank you for the recommendation. I spent some time reading through some of it now, but I'm going to go ahead and make my characters and try and set off on a dungeon delving adventure. And I'll be explaining the rules as I understand them once I actually get into the dungeon delving part. But first I need to make my 4 starting characters. So rather than pick and choose the ones I want, I think I'll go ahead and roll a d8, as there are 8 separate classes, and just randomize to see what I get. Well, what I'm hoping is I don't end up with multiple copies of the same character, but that could very well happen. It would be really unfortunate to end up with 4 copies of one class. That would just be I don't think that would go well. But yeah, here we go. Alright, so after spending 2 hours going through the process of character creation, I have my 4 here. Unfortunately, I did not end up with any duplicates. I didn't end up with more than one of the same class type. So first I got is my warrior class, which I will just need somewhere to put my minis, but yeah, I did also grab a mini to represent each one, even if it's not entirely accurate. First one I got is a warrior. Her name is Thola, and she's starting off with 7 hit points. She has the ability to always add her level to her attack rolls. As far as equipment goes, she has light armor and a great sword, and rolled 7 gold as her starting amount. The second character I got was a rogue. Her name is Ayumi, but she only has 4 life. Her abilities include adding her level to disarm traps and her defense. She also has an ability to add her level to the attack rolls, but only against an outnumbered minion group. More on that when I actually get into the game. Upon her possession, she carries the most gold of any of my starting characters with a total of 15, and has the equipments of lockpicks, rope, some light armor, and a short sword. When writing this one down, I wanted to equip him with a rapier, but that technically falls under the hand weapons, whereas the rogues in this game, at least, are only allowed to use light hand weapons. So that's stuff like daggers and knives and short swords. The third character I rolled is an elf named Azaki. He has a total of 5 hit points, and comes with multiple abilities and items in his equipment. He can add his level to his attack rolls, except if in any case where he would use a 2-handed weapon, which actually, reading over the rules, I believe with how it's written, it means he can't add it to like 2-handed melee weapons like swords or hammers. Because of how the items are classified, bow is separate from 2-handed weapons, so he should be able to add it to a bow just fine. He can also add +1 to any attack or spell rolls he makes versus orcs, and he can add his level to any spellcasting rolls in general. He starts with the knowledge of how to cast a single spell per adventure, and as for that spell, I chose the sleep one. For me, it was a toss-up between the sleep or the lightning bolt, because the lightning bolt would be more effective against boss monsters, but the sleep could also be just as effective against certain boss monsters or minion groups, but there's more likely to resist sleep. I'll get into it later, but he only starts off with 4 gold pieces, has some light armor, a metal rod, a bow, and a quiver of 12 arrows. And the last character that I randomly rolled is a halfling, whom I named Valadeus. He has 4 hit points, just like the rogue. He also has an ability that lets him add his level to his defense rolls, but only versus giants, trolls, and ogres. He also has an ability called Luck, which he can use to re-roll certain rolls, or a chance to flee combat without being hit. He was able to get 6 gold to start with, along with a lot of snacks, a sling, which operates similar to the bow, except it's slightly weaker, a knife, and 12 bullets for that sling. So those are the 4 characters I got. I would have rather have had at least a cleric, but I did not. I was not fortunate enough to have that now, but I'll explain an idea I have for later momentarily. Next, before just jumping right into the dungeon, I have the option to buy equipment beforehand. And this is important because apparently it is a requirement to have a lantern, but no character starts with it. So right before you can even begin the journey, you have to spend 4 gold for at least 1 person to carry a lantern. So I guess worst case scenario, depending on who I rolled for my characters and how poorly I rolled on their gold, I would at the very least have just enough to spend all their money on 1 lantern. So let's see what I have here for a starting amount. Okay, so between these 4, I have a total of 32 gold pieces to spend. And I'll definitely be spending 4 of that right now, leaving me with 28 remaining. Now, how the lantern works, at least 1 person in the party must be holding it, and for that to work, they actually have to hold it in their hand. They can't have it on the person. They can't just have it on the person, they have to be actively holding it. So, right off the top, I wouldn't give it to someone like Thola because the only weapon she has is a greatsword, and that requires both hands to operate. I also wouldn't give it to Azaki because the weapon I designated for him to always start with is the bow, which requires 2 hands to use. I also wouldn't really give it to Valadeus because I think the sling also requires 2 hands to use, and there's a reason I want them starting with those weapons. So really, of my 4 characters, I end up giving it to Ayumi, who I would have given it to anyways, because she doesn't have any items on her possession that required 2 hands to use at any point. Now, as far as using items and spending money goes, I decided to go with the additional option that is, to basically pay to replenish arrows and sling bullets in between adventures. So I will be keeping track of how many they have at any time, and having to come back and buy more, which the cost is 6 gold per 12 units of ammunition. So something to keep in mind for future purchases. Speaking of additional purchases, I made the custom rule of spending 50 gold to add a new potential person to the party. By that I mean I like the idea of rotating the cast out, and this would also give me a chance to roll the d8 again for a new person joining the group, but at any point I would only have 4 people going into the dungeon at a time, but just having the option of switching someone out in between adventures. The reason I put the 50 gold price on that, and why specifically 50, is because when I totaled up every class's starting equipment, most of them by equipment alone fell below the 50 gold mark, with the exception of a dwarf that starts with a 2-handed weapon and heavy armor. And I figure 50 is a good gamble because you're not just getting equipment, you're getting an active character that can help out. So yeah, that's the additional ruling I'll have going forward, maybe use for the second quest, assuming my characters live. And the reason I wanted to add a gold price to it is because when I looked at the life and death rules, basically if your character dies, according to this book, a new person can just show up in between adventures. So I added a price to that just to make it feel like there's more value to keeping your characters alive, because now if they die, I'd have to pay for a new person to show up, kind of thing. But as far as other starting equipment goes, I could buy additional weapons if I wanted someone to have something else, because there's a difference between slashing and crushing weapons, so I could buy something like that. I'm at the very least going to buy 4 bandages, 1 for each character. And that's going to take up 20 gold total. Now, the reason I'm doing that is a bandage is an item you can use once per adventure. It acts like a healing potion or healing spell, but you can't use it during combat. At the very least, it can keep them alive longer and let me hopefully see a dungeon through to its conclusion. Alright, everybody has a bandage, we have a lantern, and we have 8 gold left, but I don't think I'm going to spend that right now. There's no reason to spend all the money, and I feel like the rogue of the group, Ayumi, is someone who wouldn't want to be without coin. So let's divvy up who has what amount before I continue on. Thola would have spent 5 on her own bandages and 1 coin towards the lantern itself, leaving her with 1. Azaki, not able to afford his own bandages, would have to have a loan from Ayumi, so he has 0 at the moment. Valdeus is able to afford his own bandages, but is contributing his last gold piece to Ayumi towards the lantern. So when all the purchases are made, Thol is left with 1 gold piece and Ayumi is left with 7. Informing that both Azaki and Valdeus, no, just Azaki, owes her money. And with that, I think the only thing left I need to do is establish the marching order before we roll the entrance to the dungeon I'll be going through today. Okay, not the most stable thing, but I'm not going to be like shaking it around, so that should hopefully stay. Okay, so as far as marching order, Ayumi will be taking the lead, and the reasoning for that is, as a rogue, she has the option to disarm traps. So if anything like that happens, she will need to be at the front so she can hopefully disable them. She's also holding the lantern, which doesn't really matter where in the order they are for the lantern. In second will be Thola, the warrior right behind her. And the reason these two need to be in front is because they are more melee capable than my next 2 characters. Or at the very least, on turn 1 they are. I'll get more into that when it comes to using the bow. Also, a reason to have these 2 start off in the front is because of corridors. When exploring through the dungeon, in a corridor, the characters in spot 1 and 2 will take priority for the encounter in a corridor. When wandering through previous rooms, I'll probably have these 2 in the back, because if going through a corridor again could result in a wandering monster, and if there is, the wandering monster attacks those in the back. These may be their positions for now, but it can change based on how I move about the dungeon. In position 3, I'll have Valdeus with his sling, and position 4 will be Azaki with his bow. The reason I chose his order is mostly for the corridor encounters that can happen throughout the dungeon. Every time I tap on the table, it just moves. But yes, have the marching order, have the all-important lantern that, again, no one starts with. So let's make this dungeon and see what happens. Our 4 characters roll up to the new dungeon entrance. Ayumi takes the lead with her lantern at hand. And our dungeon type, starting with dungeon entrance number 4. This dungeon has a wide entrance, and as she brings the lantern into it, she can see the path splits in 2 ways. One curves up to the left, the other curves to the right. Now, do I roll an encounter for the entrance room? I'm going to say, since it's just the opening of this dungeon, there probably wouldn't be anything here. Or at the very least, I'm going to say, since this is my first one, my first time doing the dungeon exploring, I'm going to have nothing be at the entrance, maybe at a later one, but for now, let's just pick a path and see what happens. So let's go left. So generating rooms from now on, I roll 2 d6s. The first die will be represented as it'll be like percent dice. The first one would determine the tens, the second one will determine the individual number. So just roll and see. So I got a 5 and a 3, so number 53 is what the next room looks like. Looks like I got a corridor. Go ahead and draw that on the map first, and then roll the encounter. As the crew takes the left path, they find it comes into a corridor that draws at a T. To their left there is a door, and to their right it continues on. But first, and it looks like for the room contents table, we roll 2d6 and add them together. I got a 5 and a 5, so result number 10 happens. If corridor empty, otherwise roll on the weird monsters table. Well, this is a corridor, so therefore nothing happens. Now I can use the search option, I believe. What happens if I choose to search? Searching rooms. All dungeons have secrets. Whenever an empty room is generated, you may decide that it is not the case, and roll on the table below. A halfling may use the luck point to reroll. A room may be searched only once. Mark with an S when you search it. When searching its corridors, roll at -1. So this is a corridor. Okay, so yeah. I will go ahead and search this. See what comes up. I assume because it's at a -1, if I get a 0, nothing happens. Because it says to roll at a -1, but it doesn't have an option for 0. So I will assume nothing happens at 0. Well, how it works is a 1 is always a fail and a 6 is always a success. Failing, I guess, would be the wandering monster. So I guess if I roll 1, or my result is a 1, wandering monster. How about that? So I got a 4. Add a -1 is a 3. Room is empty. Okay. So we can continue on. We can either take the path, which will head towards the right entrance path, or we can check the door. Now there was an option to have doors be locked, which I think I like my options. I think I'll go with that ruling as well, especially since I have a rogue who can potentially pick the lock, or a warrior who could bash down the door. So let's go ahead and quickly take the right path just to see if it lines up well with the entrance. Got 25. This won't perfectly line up with how I drew it, but it did say I could add 1 or 2 to flesh out corridors, so that's what I'll do in this case to make the map make more sense. Here, I'll show what I mean. So number 25 leads to this circular room. So how I ended up drawing it was I drew an extra square here to where the corridor just goes into this room. Yeah. It specified that you could do that in the ruling, and I feel it's better to have that than like a dead end or a secret door, which are other options as well. Really, what I read, this is more like you interpret the dungeon and just kind of create it to flow how you feel it should go. So yes, Ayumi leading the group into a circular room, which along the path does lead back to the entrance, but in this newfound room there is a single door on the other side. But first, a 5 and a 2 for 7. Roll on the minions table. Alright, something could happen. By that I mean there are options where it's not all attack, but it'll probably be an attack. Minions, D6. A 5. Oh jeez. This is not a good start. I think I rolled the worst one for minions. But before the group can decide whether or not to check the door or leave the area, 3D trolls. Okay, so I guess roll d6 and divide by 2. So, trolls. Let's find out. I'll say 1 or 2. There's 1, 3, 4, there's 2, 5, 6, 3. I got a 6. Oh gosh, does this apply to the exploding die rule? By the way, there's a rule in here that says whenever you roll a 6, roll again and add to it. The explosive 6 rule. So here, when you roll a 6 performing any character action, okay, it's actions. It's not any time you roll 6. That's good. 3 trolls. Oh, fun. These are level 5 minions. They produce treasure of normal variety. Trolls regenerate unless killed by a spell, or unless a character uses 1 attack to chop an already killed troll to bits. Now it says chop, so I'm assuming it has to be a slashing weapon, not a crushing weapon. On a 5 or 6, the troll will come back to life and continue to fight. Halflings add their plus level to their defense roll against trolls. Okay, so I can read their reactions before I choose what to do, because like I said, not every monster is a fight. Some provide alternate options. So here, their reactions include fighting, fighting to the death. If a dwarf is present in the party, trolls will automatically fight to the death. I don't have a dwarf, but yeah, my characters will take the surprise round initiative. Let me double check combat. Because I can't exactly flee because how the corridor is drawn, there's no door separating this room from the corridor. So I kind of have to fight or flee at risk of being hurt. Here we are, encounters. When your party enters a room and encounters monsters, you have two options. You act first and attack the monster, or you wait and see what the monster will do. I'm choosing to attack immediately, so your characters will perform attack rolls. Against minions, you divide them by the level of the monsters, thus calculating how many minions are slain by the attack. So from what I understand, every minion has 1 hit point, but you have to roll, I believe you have to meet or beat their level. So these are level 5. Okay, yes, so they're level 5, so my total on the attack roll must be 5 or higher for me to successfully hit and kill them. So, up first in the initiative is Ayumi. So she will go at one of the 3 trolls with her short sword. However, there's only 3 of them and 4 of us, so that means she gets to add her level to her attack, I believe. Yes. So since she's only proficient with light hand weapons, a light hand weapon adds a -1 to attack. Because she's fighting an outnumbered minion, she gets to add her level. So she's just going off the base d6. So I have a 1 in 3 chance of knocking one of these 3 down right now. I rolled a 3. So that attack is ineffective. Next up would be Thola. Thola, as a fighter, always adds her level to her attacks. So she's level 1, so therefore she's always doing a d6 plus 1. I gave her a great sword, which is a slashing weapon, and it adds +1 to her attacks. So she's a d6 plus 2. Rolled a 3. With that +2, I'm at 5, and that is enough to take 1 down. I'll call him prone because he's not dead yet. Let me double check this. If the next person in the initiative decides to use their attack to chop off the head, they can't come back. Next up is Valadeus, whose default weapon is Sling, bludgeoning type, so I'd have to spend his turn to swap. Slings are another light weapon, so that's a d6 minus 1 to hit. Because it's bludgeoning, I can't use it to chop off his head. His odds are really low of being able to take one out. To 1 in 3. No, he has to roll a 6. It's a 1 in 6 chance for him. But at the same time, if he got a 6, he could potentially get another 6 and like take out 2 of them because of the explosive roll. I'm gonna just have him spend his turn swapping his weapons so he has his knife out, which takes us to Azaki. So with his bow, he's a d6 plus 1 to hit. And a bow is slashing, but I could just have him... No, they only have a 1 in 3 chance of coming back. Let's just have him go ahead and try to take another one down to the ground. Rolled a 5. Total of 6. 2 of them are prone. And that's all my characters' turns. Okay, so I assume they get their chance to regenerate before they attack. So let's give both of these a chance to come back. A 1 and a 2. Not yet. So now the one troll stands alone. He would likely go after... So now on their turn, we don't roll for them attacking, we roll for my characters dodging. Now I could make this fair by rolling a d4 to determine, but I feel with these two walking in first, as soon as the fighting stopped, I could always see Ayumi dodging behind the person who can take the most hits. So I see in any default situation where only one attacks, they would always be going for Thola, because Ayumi, our nimble rogue, would just hop out of the way. I might grab a D4 and have it randomized for later ones, but at least for now, we're going to have it go for Thola. So now we roll a defense. Thola starts with light armor, a D6 plus 1 to her defenses. So in order to avoid an attack, I believe I have to beat their level, so I have to get a 6 or higher for these level 5 trolls. So yes, I need to get a 6 or higher for Thola to dodge the troll attack. Got a 1. Luckily there's no explosive ones, so she takes the hit, putting her at 6 hit points. Alright, that was their turn. It's back to my character's turn. You have out the short sword, which qualifies as a slashing, so you can... Yeah, you're going to go ahead and just chop off one of their heads. One is officially dead. Thola's up. Let's try and take him out with the great sword. Take out that other one. Rolled a 5 for a total of 7. They're all on the ground. Valadeus pulled out his knife last turn, so he chops one of them. And as for Zaki, technically if I use the bow, it'll take it out, but I'd lose another arrow. So we're gonna have him swapping weapons. He loses his turn. The troll gets the chance to regenerate at a 2, does not, and therefore Ayumi takes it out when it's her turn again. We have killed the minions, taking only 1 point of damage. So their treasure for this room is normal. Oh, I forgot to roll morale for that last one. Okay, I found the morale procedures. When a minion loses more than half their numbers or a boss loses more than half its life points, roll a d6. 1 to 3 is flee, 4 through 6 is 5. Rolled a 6, he would have stayed the fight. Okay, so I know that for the next encounter. Treasure type normal. Let's see what we get. A 1! I don't think there was any negative to the treasure. A d6 of gold pieces. 4 gold pieces. That would be 1 for each party member. It'll divide evenly. However, Aziki still owes Ayumi 2 gold pieces, so he's now at -1 for his debt. Okay, now can I search a room after I've claimed the initial treasure? It specifies when an empty room is generated. So I'm going to say no, because this room was not empty when I generated it. Yes, let's go ahead and try that door. See if it's locked. A 5, it is not locked. And thus we push our way through the door into the room beyond. I need to keep track of my monsters somehow. Because after I kill 10 minions, there's a chance for someone to level up. So, with the door not being locked at all, we move up to it. And behind it is 34. It is a large circular room. A 3x3 space in between the walls. And on the other side is another door. But first, if the corridor, empty. Otherwise, roll on the minions table. That was an 8. Minions again. A 1. D6 plus 2 skeletons or D6 zombies. 50% chance of each. So let's determine what's what. Even skeletons, odds are zombies. Got an odd number, so zombies it is. And there are 2 zombies. These are level 3 undead. There is no treasure. Crushing weapons attack skeletons at +1. Arrows are at -1 against both skeletons and zombies. Skeletons and zombies never test morale. Therefore, they always fight to the death. The party goes first upon seeing these undead creatures and choose to attack. 2 zombies. So first would be Ayumi. Let's take her short sword. There's no special requirement to kill them, only that crushing do better against skeletons and arrows do worse. Taking her short sword, she is outnumbering the opponents, so she got a 3, which meets their level. Therefore, she dispatches of 1 immediately. Thola goes next with her great sword. rolling a 5, giving her a total of 7, taking out the other. Very simple. Yeah, that was a very simple one. No treasure. They were a minion, so that adds to the minion count. And we move on. Let's see if that door is unlocked. 3. I think it's only a 1 or 2. Yes, the door is not locked. So beyond it, we see 14. Upon opening door, there is a corridor that heads downwards. And along this corridor is a path that leads to the left. Total of 5. Empty room. Roll on the special features table. Does that work for corridors? It would seem it does. So, special features table. Got a 3 on the special features. Armory. All characters can change their weapons if they want, within the limits of the weapons allowed to their character type. For example, a warrior who is using a sword and shield may discard his shield and take a two-handed weapon, or exchange his sword for a mace. So we have the option to exchange things, not gain things necessarily. I think we're good with what my characters have right now. But according to this chart, I can search the room, so let's go ahead and do that. Because I like getting more stuff. A 6! There was no negative, because, wait, it's a corridor. But 5 and 6 are the same thing. So, I get to choose something. I can find a clue, a secret door, or a hidden treasure. I think I'm going to go ahead and take the clue, because when you get 3 of them, you can get something pretty neat from a list of options. So let's determine who found the clue. A D4, 2, 3, 4. Number 2, Thola finds a clue. Alright, and that is this room. Now we can continue down the corridor, check another corridor or a door. Let's continue down the corridor. 35. While continuing down this corridor, they lead to a dead end of sorts. Within the room itself, roll on the minions table with a 7. Got a 3. D6 hobgoblins. I got 3 hobgoblins. They are a level 4 monster, a treasure +1, and the reactions are flee if outnumbered, which they are. They could try to bribe, which means I would have to pay them. Or they fight or fight to the death. Ayumi would never pay a hobgoblin. Without the intent of getting that money back, that is. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and strike first. She pulls out her short sword. We outnumber them. So, just the base D6, she gets a 5. These are level 4 hobgoblins. 1 is slain. Move on to Thola. Great sword. Rolls a 5 or 7. Another is slain. And we move on to Valadeus. He has a sling prepared, so he uses that. Rolls a 3. Loses a stone in the process and misses. So that leaves to Azaki. Go ahead and take a shot. 2 for a total of 3. Misses. Loses an arrow. Alright. There's 1 hobgoblin standing. Let's give him a morale test. A 4. He chooses to fight. To randomize it this time, a 4. Going for Azaki in the back. Zaki now makes a dodge. D6 plus 4 must get a 5 or higher. A total of 4. And takes a hit. Then we're at the top of the initiative with Ayumi. Outnumbers them. A 4 to meet or beat when attacking, so she slays the last one. They produce a treasure +1. Moving over to the treasure table, I got a 6. Oh, it's 6 plus. So, what happens? 1 random magic item from the magic treasure table below. Well, my total is 7, so no exploding. So, we get to roll a magic item instead. Number 2, Ring of Teleportation. allows user to automatically pass a defense roll by moving that character out of the room. That character may not take part in the current combat, but rejoins the party as soon as the combat is over. After one use, the ring loses its power and becomes a simple golden ring worth 1d6 plus 1 gold pieces. But if I sell it beforehand, it's worth more. Ring of Teleportation. Who would that benefit the most? Valideus can already use his luck to leave combat. I would say Azaki or Thola. So I'm going to give it to Azaki for now. And we defeated another minions encounter. That should put me up to 3. Moving on. Back to the previous room. So we just backtracked. Which means there's a chance for a wandering monster. When retracing, roll a die. On a 1, your party is attacked by wandering monsters. That is what I was looking for. 4. We can continue on. Okay. A lot of rules. I spent several hours reading this, and I vaguely know where to find things. But yes, let's check out that door. Is it locked? It is not. So behind the door we find 24. Alright, we come across an odd-shaped room with 2 other doors in it. 3. Treasure protected by a trap. Roll on the trap table and on the treasure table. Okay, so let's figure out this trap. This is why I have the rogue at the front. Pick our poison. Got a 1. The easiest of the traps. We come across a dart trap, level 2, and it attacks a random character. But with Ayumi at the front, well, she gets to roll to disarm first. So, +1 to disarm a trap. Roll to 1, total of 2. You have to meet or beat, though. If a rogue leads the marching party, they get a chance to detect and disarm the trap before it can attack the party. Rogue rolls a d6, adds a level. Oh wait, but I rolled a 1, isn't that an automatic failure? If they fail or rolls a 1, the trap goes off. Okay. Was not prepared for that one. d4. Goes for poor Azaki. Ugh. Might have him use that ring, after all. Character targeted by the trap must make a defense roll or lose 1 life. I assume to beat the trap level. Well, Azaki does have a bonus to his defense. He gets a 4 total, therefore avoids a point of damage. Woo! Now we get to roll on the treasure table. A 5. 1 item of jewelry worth 3d6 times 10 gold pieces. Ooh. Ayumi immediately snatches that up. She was too distracted by the treasure to disarm the trap. Okay, the treasure she found is a silver necklace with a gemstone pendant. And it is worth 80 gold pieces. Okay, so 2 doors opened up, a corridor, and then there's a door near the front. I guess might not even count that door on the other side. We're gonna open one of the doors. The door is locked with a 1. Only a rogue may attempt to lockpick a door. Roll a die and add the rogue's level. If the rogue is alone. Alright, so first we gotta figure out how difficult the door is. The door is a 5. And now to see if our rogue can open it. With a total of 4. The door is locked. I will have to destroy it if I want to get through. I think this will be good to consider the door that's near the edge of the map, the locked door. So we are going to cross that out. Unless I want to try bashing it open. Alright, I set it to 5. Let's give Thola a chance to bash it open with a total of 4. 3 plus her level. So the only other way is to bash it with is to try magic. And the only spell I have would not work. So that door is forever sealed. But that's okay, we can try the other door in the room. It is locked at a 2. Its difficulty is 5. Our rogue, 3. Bashing it, 7. Door breaks open. Considering how long I spent in this room, I'm going to see if a random monster shows up, a wandering monster. It does not. So we break down one of the doors. 36. Alright, this room is supposed to have 2 additional doors, but with how it places on the map, it wouldn't make sense for that door to go there. So I went ahead and removed it. But, new room, new potential for stuff. An 8. Corridor empty, otherwise roll on the minions table. 5. More trolls. And like last time, I'm just going to immediately fight them. This time there are 2 trolls. Alright, Ayumi is up at front with her short sword. Outnumbering them, a 3 versus a 5 does not succeed. Thola is up next with her great sword. Rolls a 6. Explosive roll. Her total is 10, which first 5 going to taking down one, the other 5 are just enough to take down the other. They are both on the ground. That is how the explosive works. If I roll high enough, I can take them both down. So now we move on to Valdeus, who has a bludgeoning. Gonna spend his turn switching weapons. And Azaki's gonna hold his turn. The trolls get a chance to regenerate. 1 does. 5 and a 2. And gets to attack. Poor Azaki. The monsters hate him. He now has to roll d6 plus 1. He has to get 6 or higher. He got a total of 6 with a 5 on the die. He avoids wait, yes. He has to beat their level. So yes, he is fine. Back to my group. Ayumi kills the one on the ground. Thola attacks the one that got back up. Total of 5. She meets the level, therefore she succeeds on the strike. It's on the ground. And Valdeus, using his knife, destroys the second one. We have killed the minions. To 4 minion kills, they produce a normal treasure, which I got a 6. 1 random magic item from the magic treasure table below. Got a 1. A wand of sleep. User may cast sleep spell 3 times before its energy is depleted. Only wizards and elves may use it, and the user's level to determine the spell roll, as you would do for the sleep spell cast by that character. Oddly enough, that is the spell I equipped Azaki with. So Azaki will get the wand of sleep. However, Ayumi argues that he cannot have both treasures, and thus requests the ring of teleportation. Azaki saying that he's best suited for both items. But Ayumi quickly rebuttals with, "I'll drop all charges and loan expenses if you just hand me the ring." Thus the transaction is made, where Ayumi ends up with the ring of teleportation, and Azaki has the wand of sleep. Okay, so we haven't fought a boss monster yet, but once I've been playing for 2 hours, I am going to go ahead and declare time for the final boss. So you know I don't have too much stuff to edit with. I know, selfish of me, how dare I. So now we go ahead and check out the one other door, since I didn't draw the other door because it doesn't make sense on the map I have going. 24. Entering into this new room. Total of 6. Roll on the vermin table. Vermin do not help towards XP, they are simply a nuisance. Number 2, we end up with 3d6, oh gee, that's a lot, of vampire bats. Okay, let's find out how many of these things we've got. Oh, they're level 1 creatures, they're very easy to kill. However, there are 14 of them. Okay. These are level 1 creatures. They produce no treasure. Spells are cast at -1 due to their distracting shrieking. These are not undead creatures, basically. We're going first, because I could easily see one person taking out many of them. We do not outnumber them, so a d6 -1 for Ayumi. So with a 2, she kills 1 of these creatures. Thola, using her great sword, 5, so she gets to kill 7 of these. That's what I was talking about right there. Next up is Valdeus. He will chuck a bullet from his sling. -1. Rolls a 5, therefore he's able to kill 4 of these bat creatures. Using a stone, but leaving 2 left. Anazaki will go ahead and shoot his bow and try and pierce through the last 2. Rolls a 6 with a 4. 11 total. Yeah, he killed those last 2. And uses an arrow in the process. They produce no treasure, so we must move on. There are 2 doors here. One is locked, the other is not. The locked door is at a 3. Ayumi picks the lock, so they're both available to be opened. 34. We come across another large circular room. 9. Empty. I have the search option. My chair squeaks a lot. I've been considering buying a new one for a while. 4. This is a room, therefore there's no negative. The room is empty. Okay. That's fine. Moving onward to the next one. Door is not locked. 16. Door opens up into a small room with a corridor on the other side. 9. This room is empty. So we go ahead and search it. I got a 6. Okay. I can choose to find a clue, a secret door, or hidden treasure. I think I'm going to stick with the clues for now. Let's see who gets it this time. Thola. I got a 2. I think she got it last time. Yes, she did. She almost has a new thing. Alright, cool. Cool. So, yeah, let's take the corridor into a new room. So, 65. Turns out at the end of that corridor there was a door. It was locked. It's a level 1. Ayumi breathes on it and it falls off. You're now in a corridor. I really need to print this specific page out. An 8. Corridor is empty, therefore I can search. Oh, I keep forgetting to roll for the random monsters. The wandering monsters. So much to the process of this. Okay, let's go ahead and search the room. 3, I'm pretty sure the room is empty. It's really only a 5 or 6. Okay, it's not that I wasn't rolling for, it's that when searching, a 1 yields a random monster. Alright, we try the door at the end of this corridor. Door is locked. Door is at level 4. Ayumi gets a total of 5 and unlocks it. Beyond this door we find 34. I keep getting this one. Within this room we have 5. Empty room. Roll on the special feature table. Special features. Got a 6. Puzzle room. The room contains a puzzle box. Its level is D6. Its level's 3. You may leave it alone or try to solve it. This is a good scenario for a wizard. They actually have an ability involving puzzles. For every failed attempt, the character trying to solve the puzzle loses 1 life. Wizards and rogues add their level to their puzzle solving. Really? I didn't know rogues got to. Didn't mention that. Or maybe it's this specific puzzle. Wizards and rogues add their level to the puzzle solving roll. If the puzzle is solved, the box opens. Make a treasure roll to determine its content. Okay, since rogues get a chance, let's go ahead and try that. We have to beat a 3. She grew out of 1. So she takes a point of damage, putting her at 3, and says, screw this puzzle, we're moving on. So to the next... I don't remember if I checked this door or not. We're doing it now. The door is not, it's open. It's fine. Purple first. 34, really? I don't know if it's going to fit all the way on this. So this might be a dead end room because of map placement. Yeah, so because of this one's placement on the map, it is now a dead end. Which means we have a lot of backtracking to do. But first, 10 total. I think that's going to be a weird monster, maybe. If corridor empty, otherwise roll on weird monster table. Weird monsters are like bosses. Yeah, they count towards finding the final boss, unless I go by my time limit rule, which 20 more minutes maybe. It's gonna be a long video. Maybe I should try it. Maybe I should consider ending this soon. Weird monster. 3. Chimera. Level 5. 6 life points. Okay, so basically anytime I beat its level, it counts towards a wound. This is basically how the bosses operate. 3 attacks. So it basically acts like basically three trolls given the level and the number of attacks. Produces a normal treasure. On every of the Chimera's turns, roll d6. On a 1 or 2, the Chimera breathes fire instead of performing multiple attacks. All characters must save versus level 4, fire, or lose 1 life. Its reactions include a very low chance for a bribe of 50 gold pieces. We don't have that in gold right now, and even if we did, Ayumi would argue against it, saying that the treasure is hers. I don't think it would take a necklace worth 80 though. I think it has to be gold. Or at least that's the rule I'm setting. So actually, I have a proposition. Thing is, I am actually... Yeah, this recording's been going on for a while. I've been actively playing for 1 hour and 40 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and promote this Chimera to Final Boss. Because we still have the danger of walking out of this dungeon, and I'd like to get this all done in one recording, so I don't want to... Alright, here are the rules for the Final Boss. There's the rule for each time you meet a boss monster, it adds towards finding the final boss. So another way to find it is when you run out of doors to open, which I actually have 1, 2, 3 more paths. But yeah, I'm doing more of a time limit thing here. The final boss has 1 additional life, 1 additional attack, and will automatically fight to the death. The gold piece treasure of the final boss is tripled or increased to 100 gold, whichever is best for you. If it has a magic item in its treasure, you will find 2 magic items instead. It does not, it has a normal treasure. Killing the final boss and moving out of the dungeon ends the adventure, but if you have a quest going on, you may wish to continue until you complete the dungeon or the quest, whichever happens first. If there's an unopened door in the final boss room, you may ignore it or open it as you see fit. So yes, the boss has 1 additional attack and life point. So this Chimera is now level 5 creature with 7 life points, 4 attacks. If a boss, much like when minions go under half their numbers, they have a morality check, a boss acts the same when they go under half their health. So if he goes down to 3, there's a chance he could run away. A fleeing creature still counts as a defeated one, and I still get the treasure afterwards. But I think with bosses, instead of running away, their level goes down. Oh wait, no. For a final boss though, it automatically fights to the death. But its level does go down when its health is at half. So, here we go. Ayumi's up first. However, her rogue ability only works against minion and vermin. It does not work against bosses and weird monsters. So, she's at a d6 minus 1 to hit this creature. Which means she has to roll a 6. Which would explode, but you know. That's what we're working with here. Unless she has something. She has the ring of teleportation. We're going first. Yeah, no, she misses. She could have won. Thola is next. Using her great sword, she got a 6. Exploding 6. Might deal more than 1 wound. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 total. 5, so deals 2 wounds. Putting this Chimera at 5 health. Next up is Valdeus. He has a sling. He also has luck. He has a sling as his go-to, which he can use this turn because it's before the monster. Next turn he has to switch out because we're in a room. He got a 1. Do I want to use his luck ability? I'm going to say no this time because it's still 1 in 6 chance of success. I might use it when the monster's at a lower level. So he uses a stone. Azaki is next. Shoots his bow with a total of 3. Not looking good so far. We had a good turn with Thola, but that was it. Now we're on to the Chimera's turn. On a 1 or 2, breathes fire instead. Got a 5. So with how it's supposed to work with multiple attacks, I can either each player gets hit once, or I can randomize each attack. I'm going to, for this round, let it go to each player once. Since there's 4 of us, it gets 4 attacks. Let's see how this goes. So Ayumi, D6 plus 2. All creatures must save versus level 4 fire. Let me double check saves. Okay, so according to the saves versus, I have to meet or beat. Right, that's for the fire. We're doing the attacks, which means I have to beat the creature, right? Okay, I will need a 6 or better to parry this creature's attacks. Ooh boy, everyone's gonna take damage most likely. When it comes to attacking a creature, I have to meet or beat. When it comes to a save, I have to meet or beat. When it comes to parrying an attack, I have to beat. I think I have that correct. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So, Ayumi, D6 plus 2 versus I need 6. 4, 5, 6, Ayumi is fine. Thola, D6 plus 1. Roll 3, 4, Thola takes a point of damage, putting her at 5. Valadeus, just a D6, he has no armor, didn't start with it. 3, Valadeus takes a point of damage. And lastly, Azaki, D6 plus 1. 2 for a total of 3, Azaki takes a point of damage. Okay, that was the Chimera's turn. So now we're back at the top of the initiative with Ayumi. You only have the one weapon. So yeah, you're gonna take your short sword and try and hit that Chimera. Rolls a 1 for a total of 0, so you fail. Okay, Thola, please. 4 for a total of 6, which is enough to hit the creature for 1 wound, bringing it down to 4. It's not at half health yet. Now here comes the sad part. Both Valadeus and Azaki can no longer use their ranged weapons, because they are in melee now. So they have to spend their turn switching out weapons. Valadeus to his knife, and Azaki to his metal rod. That's what I wrote down. So that sucks. And I can't have him use a spell either, because a bow technically uses 2 hands. Pretty sure that's how that works in this game. If not, I can change it for next time. That's how I'm going by. This time, we're on to the Chimera. It gets a 6 and does not get its breath weapon. Although I think the breath weapon would be easier at this point. Given the status of everyone's health, I'm gonna have it attack everybody once again. So, Ayumi first. A 4 for a total of 6. Parrying, you must get 6 or higher for this creature, so Ayumi is fine. Thola, 5 for a total of 6. Thola is fine. Valadeus, 2 for a total of 2. He takes a hit and is now at 2 hit points. Azaki rolls a 1 and thus fails. He's now at 2 hit points. Okay. Good news is, this turn I think I can take out the Chimera. I will read this situation when it gets to that point, but I think I will succeed this turn. Let's find out. So, first up is Ayumi. Creature is still above half health, so a 5 minus 1 for a 4 does not meet the level. I'm gonna need to write that down so I don't have to keep guessing. So unfortunately, she still doesn't hit. Thola, a 4 for a total of 6. Beats the monster. It's now down to a 3. It does not roll morale, but it is now a level 4 monster. We move on to Valadeus, now wielding a knife. A 5 with a negative for a total of 4. Creature is now level 4, and you have to meet or beat to hit. He deals a wound. Which brings us to Azaki's turn. Now, elves are allowed to cast 1 spell per adventure. And like I brought up at the beginning, it was a toss-up between Lightning Bolt or Sleep. Either spell would have worked in this situation. I chose Sleep. And even if I didn't choose Sleep, I still have the Wand of Sleep that he is equipped with. So I'm going to go ahead and read the spell now. This spell works like an attack roll. It does not affect undead, dragons, and certain other monsters. Now, when I check the weird monster table for the Chimera, it does not mention immunity to sleep anywhere. In fact, I'm trying to find a monster that is for comparison's sake. Okay, I'm not sure what monster would be immune to the effects, but all I can say is the Chimera doesn't specify that it does, therefore it should be susceptible. The wizard or elf adds their level to the roll. Sleep will affect one boss or d6 plus 1 minions. If it hits, monsters put to sleep count as slain. So, this Chimera was promoted to final boss, still a boss, and therefore Azaki casts his sleep spell, and the monster with 2 wounds remaining is considered slain. So, we have killed the Chimera, this weird monster considered the final boss. Every time the party kills a boss, completes a quest, or survives 10 encounters with minions, not vermin, vermin do not give XP, a character of your choice may attempt to level up. I am going to leave this up to random roll. 1, 2, 3, 4. The person who gets to attempt to level up is Valadeus in slot number 3. This is called an experience or XP roll. Roll a die. If the result is higher than the character's current level, the character gains a level. I just have to roll a 2 or higher on this d6. And with a 1, I fail. Great. Fine. Abilities that allow to reroll die, such as Halfling's Lux, may not be used on XP rolls. Rolls for minions are at -1. Well, I failed the level up. That sucks. Gold piece treasure of the final boss is tripled or increased to 100. 3 attacks, normal treasure. I got a 4, 1 gem, worth 2d6 times 5 gold pieces. The gem is a black sapphire. Its initial value is 2d6 times 5, 9 times 5. So this sapphire is initially worth 45 gold pieces. This black sapphire is now worth 135 gold pieces. Very nice. Ayumi speaks up, assuming she is the best one to keep such valuable things safe throughout the journey, and takes the gem. With this monster vanquished, the group decides to take a moment to actually rest. Azaki and Valadeus will both use their bandage to give themselves full health. Ayumi is at 3/4, so she's still feeling fine, and Thola is at 5/7, still doing fine. But now the party is going to venture its way out. Ayumi will stay in the lead. Thola will now take up the rear in case any wandering monsters decide to ambush them on their way out. Alright, so we begin to retrace our steps. Walk back into the previous room. Fine. Walk into the corridor. Fine. Continue down a corridor into a room. 2, that's close. We go into the large circular room. Fine. We go into a room that had another door deeper into the dungeon, but we decide we've found our treasures and are heading out. Go back to an odd-shaped room. We're fine. Oh wait, no, we weren't at that one yet. But we go back to the room that had the door that we could not open by any means. Fine. Go back to the corridor. A 2. We almost encountered. Now, since we're going to go ahead and... Since, according to the rules, I can't really revisit this dungeon, I could just block off and say that's a dead end, but I may choose to come back here at some point just for the fun of it, however I choose to play. We end up back in that initial large circular room. We're fine. We go back to the next room. A 5, we're fine. And now we're in the corridor before going to the main entrance. At the corridor, we're fine. There was also a door here that we never attempted. Turned out the door was locked. It's challenge 1. Ayumi can easily open it and look in, but we're gonna head out. Now in the entrance, the 4, we are fine. We were fortunate enough to not encounter anything on the way back to the exit, and thus ends our first adventure, dungeon delving. So yes, that was my first dive into 4 Against Darkness. Let me know what you think. I now have a lot of footage to edit through. But yeah, it was enjoyable. I had to stop many times to read over the rules. I'm sure once I do this more often, I'll be familiar enough to where it's not that much of an issue. But yeah, it was a fun experience. I would like to do it again. But let me know what you think about this. Yeah, maybe I'll do this monthly or every other week. Don't know however often I feel like doing this, but yeah, I do plan to do this at least one more time, maybe just, who knows, we'll see. But that's all for this video. Until next time, thanks for watching.